Guys, thanks so much for joining us here in the studio. I love your background of beautiful flowers. We've got Love Resorts here at 88.9 for 414 Live Variety Hour. And it wasn't long ago that we had you like in our physical space. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. It's so good to see your face.
You too. This, this time has been pretty wild. So we haven't been able to see people. So I'm glad we can connect in this way. And speaking of that, very importantly, during this time of the pandemic, you guys quietly released your second album, Bad Love. And I want to hear more about this record and what your experience has been with a quiet release, as I know you're not alone in this sphere of releasing during like an ever-changing time.
Yeah, it's sort of as bad as anyone might guess it is. There's no, it's a combination of the pandemic and social unrest and just, there's really no opportunity and it just wouldn't be appropriate, to promote oneself in that way. So, it's out there and it's just sort of kind of like the lost album. But I think maybe like 20 years from now or 30 years from now, it'll be like this really cool thing where people will go, oh, I haven't heard of that one. I didn't know they made an album called Bad Love,
There's like an apple car spinning in the galaxy just around the sun. There's still music.
Yeah.
I'm going to clock that in my brain, and then I'm going to like go through vinyl and I'm going to talk to Andy Noble and be like, whoa, did you see this record? That was 2020. We had no idea. It'll go up there. Well, even though it is a quiet release, I would love to know like the idea behind Bad Love in this bad time.
Oh, well, we put out our first record in July, and at that point we had already been recording Bad Love. The songs kind of just kept flowing, and we were recording, and Bad Love was sort of the song that seemed to fit the songs all together. And we had sorry, the dog's itching his face. Yeah, I don't know, like this, you help me.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of love songs on Bad Love, as you might guess. The song itself, Bad Love, is, about how, I guess the way I kind of interpret it is that, all love ends up being kind of bad and good. And it's good too, but like, I think you get into your 30s and you start thinking like, it's just the same shit over and over. Oh, oops, I don't know if I can say that, but it's the same.
I can bleep it out.
Yeah, it's the same scenario kind of, over and over again. It's just like a different version of bad because everyone has their own unique badness, right? So, Bad Love is a little bit about that. But there's a lot of love songs on the album. Some of them are really, really endearing and cheerful and cute and heartwarming. And then some of them are a little sadder. But yeah.
I think that's interesting though, and might be relevant to this time as people are kind of confined with each other and might be going through these different timelines of love and what those interpretations are. I really like that. And I am going to find your record 20 years later and it's going to be a cult classic. So I'm excited to dive deeper on this conversation later on, but you're going to be we're doing an interview within an interview. You guys are going to be interviewing Nick Gazin later on, who did the artwork for Bad Love. How did you guys all end up connecting?
I was following him on Instagram. So I had been a fan of his artwork and kind of knew what he had done for other artists, and his sister as well was a prolific artist on the West Coast, and I followed both of them and sort of fell in love with what he was doing and suggested him as an artist. I think Martha was on the fence at first, but then we started conversing with him, and he's very funny and energetic person, and we had some good back and forth. So decided that he would be perfect to do the artwork, and he was on board. And there's sort of this funny scenario where the pandemic hit, and we were both sort of just dealing with a lot of stuff, and we kind of kicked it down the line for a while, where he was sending us drafts of things, and he sent us a few ideas, and we kind of fell in love with the one we chose. So it worked out great.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love that like you formed a relationship as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of that, you have, from my understanding, you have another record on the horizon. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Sure. We've been finishing the mix of our third album, which is called Vacation, which I'm very excited about. And then this year for our seasonal record, we're not going to do another Christmas album. We're going to do a children's album. So we are finishing up that to have it ready for the holiday season for purchases. And we haven't selected our recipient of the donated funds yet, but we're hoping to do that fairly soon. So I don't know if listeners know this, but every year during the holiday, we make an album and we give 100% of the proceeds to a nonprofit or a worthy cause. It doesn't have to be a formal nonprofit. It can just be a cause. So if anybody has ideas, feel free to shoot them over.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing it. And I know, like, in this time, you know, it's a weird time. I see you guys have been keeping really pretty busy during quarantine. You've been playing live stream shows, making your garden. You did a video for Hold Up. And I know you've made these like awesome mini-sodes of the Great, Awesome, and Kind show, which is all super inspiring and super fun. What keeps igniting this creative motivation forward?
I feel like quarantine is my perfect life. Like, I want to be here with Vinny, gardening, cooking food, doing weird experiments in my kitchen. Like, I ferment a lot of things. So I have some like really fun kombucha brews fermenting right now that have things from the garden in them. You know, I'm really happy. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to how it was. This is great.
I was in the basement until May, and then I came out, and Mark was like, "There's a pandemic."
Our studio is in the basement, so he wasn't just in the basement; he was working in the basement.
Still not today.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
that's another thing that maybe is super, you know, has made quarantine very different for us versus other artists is that we have a home studio. We record Vinny records all of our own stuff, and you know, we're independent artists, so really not that much change for us in that sense.
So you kind of have the space in which confining together is like really perfect for being mindful and being creative. Do you have any advice for artists out there navigating this wild time to maybe, it sounds like maybe to just enjoy staying still?
Well, I mean, I guess the advice that I would have is number one, drink water, but number two, I mean, there seems to be like this, I think we should all kind of try to develop an ability to be uncomfortable, an ability to be unhappy, to feel stifled, to feel frustrated. You know, it's not all about feeling good all the time and feeling creative all the time. Like, that's not how cool stuff happens. Cool stuff happens when you feel constricted, when you have no other choice but to go another direction. And so, you know, I think just, you know, cultivate an ability to do that however you can, whether that's like positive self-talk, or maybe that's meditation or going for runs, or, you know, whatever that is for you. There's a million different ways to do it, but learn to be uncomfortable and to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like for me personally, when I'm uncomfortable is when I learn the most about myself and how I interact in that. So I love those words. That's perfect. So
weird.
yeah, I'm always uncomfortable. For our listeners, how can they support you guys?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, we all know how to basically support musicians at this point. You know, there's the usual Bandcamp Fridays and, the usual.
The usual.
But we are definitely trying to increase Spotify followers. So if you listen to Spotify and it doesn't, you are in any way interested in our music, become a follower. But beyond that, I'm very, very interested in getting to know people personally. Like we've had some people reach out and just be very, very personal, saying like, hey, can I get a tape from you? And then like I package up and mail them a tape. Or we had someone write a short story and put us in the story just briefly, and they sent us a few copies. So I mean, if our music moves you or you're curious about anything, just write us. Like I'm really interested in building more human connection in absence of shows. So it can be not even music related. It can be like, hey, I like your dog, whatever.
That's super beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on 414 Live Variety Hour.